Hello and welcome to another forum of social discussions where contemporary issues will be emphasized and solutions will be discussed. And today we will be discussing pursuing unconventional careers, art forms, and how far is the society accommodating about it. Dear utterers, it's an amazing way to show support to good content by liking and subscribing. So if you feel it, please hit the bell icon and click on the thumbs up to support utterance. Going back to the topic, the arts have been part of life as long as man has existed, even before formulas and Pythagoras and laws of gravity. And we will be taking this discussion forward with our panelists. Antara Bose, who is a successful journalist but has completed her graduation in Kathak. Abhishek Bhadra, who is a senior consultant for business analytics but also possesses a diploma in fine arts. Then we have Niharika Ravi, who is presently pursuing law from a reputed college in Mumbai but has as seriously pursued Bharatnatyam and completed her Arangetram. And Aditi Patel, who is an avid reader and writer. Aditi is pursuing mass communication and majoring with film studies. I welcome you all today to today's discussion. Okay, who will open the discussion today? Antara, why don't we begin with you? Tell us, what is your role as an artist in society, your local community, and the world at large? And most importantly, why did you choose a career in journalism over art? And how are you in the process of reviving your childhood passion now in the wake of this pandemic? Yes, Antara.
So, hi everybody. So, that's too much of a question, everything at a single time. What was your first question?
I
What is your
asked,
role as an artist?
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I think we have spent almost 6 months of lockdown, and it won't have been possible without art. I think everybody of us had been logged into Netflix, Amazon, and I think art has literally saved us from this the entire lockdown. Otherwise there was nothing else to do. So no matter how you give importance to science, maths and everything else, commerce in that case, but art I think is the most important thing till date. So I think that is how it is important, because it helps you keep sane. We have not lost our sanity because of art, I think, till date, and we have gone through 7 months of lockdown. So I think yes, art helps you in that way. And his second question, why did you choose a career in journalism over? Okay, no, I would have been a dancer otherwise after completing my Kathak Vibhakar, which is a graduation from Bangi Sangeet Parishad. But as you all know that being in an Indian middle class family, so वो रहता है ना, पहले जॉब कर लो. So we try and find those comfort zones कि पहले जॉब हो जाए, then we'll think about something. But I must tell you that it took after 15 years, a gap of 15 years, to restart this passion that I had, because at some point in time I felt that I was not living for myself. It was too much of job, being professional, and as you know, journalism is not a 9 to 5 job. At times you get out at 6 and come back at 9 at night. So somewhere if it was like it actually a job made you safer that ways, commercially, financially. Your family was more like dance kar lenge baad mein, but a job is more necessary. But then after 15 years of gap, I chose dance again, and I am now associated with a group called Uday Nritilo, and I've started performing again. So then it was a financial security. Now it is like reviving a passion again. So yes, that isn't, I think. Anything else that you asked, Lumbini, I've got. Yeah, anything else?
I no, it's well. I can completely relate with you
Yeah.
because I have also completed my graduation with Hindustani classical music. But back in the day, we often chose to go ahead with alternate career options other than art forms. Tell me, what message do you want to pass on to society now that you have already experienced pursuing your passion in both the fields? Which one gave you more joy, and which do you think should have been explored further? What would you have done differently, Antara, or maybe are trying to incorporate now through your visual storytelling methods in terms of pursuing art?
No, journalism is a different thing altogether. I was also happy being a journalist. I am now freelancing. Otherwise, I was employed with ABP Private Limited. Now I'm freelancing with a couple of media online digital platforms. But yes, so dance for me is a different area. Journalism is a different area. Of course, dance is passion, which I would again like to pursue. But I would like to keep both the things, separately. I wouldn't like to compare because two things are entirely different. You see, you can't compare apples with oranges. So to me, journalism was a profession, and dance is passion. So yes, given a chance, I would like to explore dance more with different styles. I belong to Jamshedpur, which is in Jharkhand. What I miss here is that the dance form that I wanted to learn was Uday Shankar technique of ballet,
Okay,
and which is completely missing in this part of the country. So after Kathak, I would like to now, Lumbini, I would like to work more on the entrepreneurial level,
okay.
not only as a dancer, but
Is that what
also
you're
bringing,
doing? Yes, yes.
yeah,
Tell me.
so also bringing more styles to the city, that the city is unaware of, because there are, the world is, the sky is the limit. So there are so many dance forms both in Indian and Western. So yes, maybe I would like to work on an entrepreneurial level. So that's it. Yeah, so what to you?
No, no, it's amazing to know that you've finally found a way to lean on to your creative sides, Antara. Well, and with this, we'll move on to our next panelist, Abhishek Bhadra. Abhishek, do you think one can succeed in life by working in the field of art, or is it important to take business courses just to be on the safe side? How did you choose one option over the other? And how are you reviving your artist self now that you already have a successful career in business analytics?
Hey, thanks, Lumbini. Thanks for inviting me in this forum. So, first things first, when we talk about passion, so the word passion is actually quite often loosely used across different forums. Now, for me, I absolutely relate to Antara, who's also from Jharkhand and Jamshedpur. So, I mean, I spend most of my time here. So, I also come from a very middle class family. And over a period of time, I actually realized that passion is definitely art, fine arts, which was my go-to for solace, I would say. But
Right.
at the same time, to being comfortable or to being in a state where I am a little bit risk-free is also important, right? So that could also act as a passion or as a motivator, right? So for me, it was never the push from my family to join a sort of a engineering sort of a background. It was my decision over art forms. So because I understood the background from which I came to, and I knew that after a point of time, I'll have to be the leading bread earner of my family, and that sort of somehow compensated and drove me to learn IT or management, which I am fairly comfortable doing today, right? But as Antara was also mentioning, there's always a soft corner for something which you have learned over. So I also learned fine arts for like almost 11 years. I'm a diploma holder in fine arts
Right.
from Ravi. So now when I have that financial stability, when I have that circle, and more importantly, I have that stability in terms of time, because these are the two things which I would need to invest upon. It's not that it would come overnight. And these art forms are seldom, motor memory. So you can learn to ride a cycle, you wouldn't forget. But if you don't practice your art form, I mean, in a blink of an eye, you would, lose touch to it. So now that I have that time, I am consciously investing over it over the last couple of years. And I mean, the lockdown gave me the opportunity to, rethink and, start a new sort of a venture called Chitratar Mahoday. And touch wood with word of mouth, it is doing decently well so far. So the idea is for me, the passion that I initially had, fine arts, still persists. But somewhere down the line, I had to choose more secure options being coming from a middle class family, which was also a motivator for me. So I can't really compare my current career with art form, but I can try to draw a small point over here. Like if you know a certain form of art, which is fine arts, dance, singing, anything, that definitely induces creativity, and that tries to bring out a different side of you when you do a journalism or you do a IT profession or you're in any field. So
Right.
that sort of complements and adds up to the better.
Right.
So that has been my experience so far. And coming back to, my passion for pursuing something, if I had to change something back in the days, I would say information. So, when we joined into the field of engineering or, the daily standard rat race sort of a field, a lot of things were not very explored or driven. Now
Right.
the opportunities are more, right? So, which we thought of as risk would probably not be risk today because we have more colleges, we have more opportunities. India is slowly starting to become more entrepreneurial in this area,
Mainstream.
right?
Right.
Exactly. So these are the things which tries to draw into people, let's say, who are trying to aspire to being an artist or any art form. Probably the more information they garner, the more secure they start to become. We didn't have that luxury back in the days. It was there here and there, but it was not something which we could bank upon, or it
Right.
was not that elaborate,
Right.
right? So that has been my experience, and probably I, in my limited knowledge, try to help out the youngers within my family, outside my family, trying to guide them to sort of try to pursue a career at least in design art. I would say, yeah, that's what I feel personally. Was I able to try to answer your questions here?
No, no, it was absolutely, to the point. Abhishek, let's talk about Vincent van Gogh's career. Now, do you
Mhm.
think a treatment like that scares artists? Is that why many choose other career paths?
Honestly, not Lumbini. I'll tell you because when you say Vincent van Gogh, he was a post-impressionistic artist, and if we look into his artworks, the only time he was also from a, I wouldn't say middle class family, he was pretty well to do, but he chose to, do other 9 to 5 jobs much before he started painting. It was only a span of 10 years that he actually invested in the form of fine arts. And his art form actually, sort of, though he was a Dutch born, but most
Right.
of his art forms was actually, sort of discovered in France, which was the then
Post,
so-called
post. Hmm, hmm,
post-impressionistic artist had a people or group of artists in forum who could deliver sort of a different form of art at those point of time.
hmm.
And gradually, Vincent van Gogh developed a certain art knack to a certain type of painting. It's very interesting that if you see, he had painted almost 43 to 45 of his own portraits. Now, that was not by choice. Uh, it was actually forced upon him because he didn't have the money to pay for models back then. So he didn't have a choice but to, sort of paint them. The second most important point is he was a confirmed mental patient, right?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
So this
It was
has to
also
do,
probably because of how the society treated him, to a certain extent. Would you agree to
yes and
that?
no. Yes and no. Because if you see, the studies have revealed that he showed these sort of uh, fringes of mental paranoia much before he was actually into finance. Of course,
Okay.
that amplified because he was staying in a different world. So if you see the Starry Night, he
Right,
actually painted that in the mental asylum from
right,
the windows, right?
right,
So he had a frame, he had a perspective. He used to look out of the window, and it used to take him, let's say, 3 hours to paint the sunny side. And
right.
then by evening, he used to see the night, right? So it's a mix of day and night, and it's sort of his hallucination. A lot of people would say. But what happens with a lot of mental illnesses is it aggravates over a period of time, and if it is unaddressed and untreated, it becomes worse. The famous ear chopping incidents you would know. A lot of people would say that that was for his love and other things, but no, it was for a misunderstanding that happened between him and Gauguin, who was a very well-known artist back then. And even his death, it's still around controversy. So he
Yes.
was never ever a prominent social figure, which Vinci was. Da
Hmm,
Vinci was a marketeer, right? So he knew to
hmm.
market stuff, and he was there. So he could see his fame before he died, but not Vincent van Gogh,
Right.
because all the tales that we know today of Vincent van Gogh, it's only by sayings, or we have heard it from his brother's wife, Hugo's wife, who later sold the paintings and became super filthy rich. But
Posthumously is what I was trying to get.
posthumously,
Yes.
exactly. So while he was there, these material things never really attracted him to the point, he would really commercialize things. He had done a lot of other things, and that commercial angle is what many artists today, you would know a few also, because in Jamshedpur we had a brilliant artist set of artists that we still have today,
Yes.
but they were never good marketeer in this world, right? And that has been the case not only today, pre-Renaissance, post-Renaissance, pre-impressionistic paintings and others. So anything that you do, it has to be marketed in a certain way, especially when it has a ambiguous value, and especially finance, right? So the same painting painted by M.F. Hussain would cost billions, right? Of course, not by Abhishek Bhadra, at least not yet. So it's a trade. So I don't really think that that sort of a thought process would deter artists today
Hmm.
to go into that field. It's mostly the current contemporary affair that's happening around that would really deter them not to go into such fields, which is mostly the rat race that we are in. So it has to do nothing with Van Gogh. And in fact, many artists who are qualified enough today won't even have the time and patience to go and read or understand Van Gogh to an extent, right? So it's a part of history which we know, but should we imply it as old painting? Maybe not. So, not very true. We have other examples of successes and difference also. It's about how the passion drives it, and I think mostly it's the contemporary world that is driving all this, trade-offs. So that's my thought. That
Antara, do you see the scenario changing in the city
No, I
now?
think
Yeah.
as Abhishek said,
Because he mentioned that it's probably a bit uh, more explored these days than how it was
it's
when we
better.
had it.
It's better.
it's better.
It's better. But as he said that artists in the city still cannot market themselves. So,
Uh-huh.
but yes, we have an artist forum now in
Hmm.
Jamshedpur. So there
Okay.
are this group of artists, children artists like Badalda, and everybody is a part of it. But still, they cannot sell themselves. You know that
Exactly.
Hmm.
saleability thing is still not there. They will organize exhibitions. They will organize camps. They will teach students for free. They'll organize free workshops. But then again. That value that should come from the city, art lovers, it's still not there. So they still sell their painting for art lovers outside the city, not in the city.
Yeah,
So we as a city will still need to learn a lot about art, visual and performing. So
precisely.
performing people watch because it's very entertaining, it gives you a
Yes.
visual treat. But
Yes.
to understand art as a visual paintings, it will take a lot of time, I suppose. Still, Tata Steel has been doing this art in industry and all, but people are aware, but it has much more scope. I think it's like little bit.
I mean, yeah, what you're saying is the draw is quite less here. Probably the
Yeah,
same thing would attract more attention in a place like Pune and Bombay.
I
Uh,
think apart from Tata Steel, nobody else
nah,
has
taken this initiative.
contributed to this cause. Yes,
I
so
agree.
everybody's ki theek hai, painting karte hai. People hardly understand painting. So
Yep,
in Delhi, Mumbai, you have oceans and galleries like there who
exactly.
actually market the. Even if you can't market yourself, there are galleries to market your painting. But
Correct.
then Jamshedpur will still have
It's
many
quite some time to go. Yeah.
quite some time. I think.
I agree. And I think this is one of the ways that the society also translates. Like if we have to put it this way, we come from a tier two typical manufacturing city where
Yeah,
even after so much of earning, people will still look at and see how strong it is before they go and buy, right? So
exactly,
that
exactly.
creates an impression in your head before you try to evaluate an art. And seldom art is very subjective. So how I look at it, probably you won't
Right.
look at it the
Yeah,
same
of
way.
course, of course.
So yeah, it's not yet there, but yeah, of course, it's better than last 20 years. I would say
Yeah, of course, it's better.
still a long way to go.
So once we are done with Niharika and Aditi, we'll just quickly come back to a question. Are artists expected to perform free? Yeah, because
Sure.
whatever you both said, it implies probably. Okay, so thank you, Abhishek and Antara, for your insights. Niharika, what are your views on this? People often say, don't do what you love for a career, do what makes you money. That's how they sideline art. Is that the reason why you, despite having completed your Arangetram, chose to study law? How are you using your learnings to compensate for the everyday dreariness?
Okay, honestly, law after my 12th standard was not my first choice, and it was not something I was aiming to do at all. And nowadays, I think the 2 to 3 years before you do your HSC is the time when students are in that rat race of preparing for entrances. And the exam I wrote for law is called the LSAT, and the only reason I ended up writing it is because the pattern is very interesting.
Okay.
Ironically, it tests language and reasoning, which along with creativity, as Abhishek said, is something that art kind of enhances in a person, I feel. Now, for most dance students, again, I would like to reiterate, for middle class dance students, dance is never a first choice for a career. And this is especially so in Maharashtra because the fact that there is no audience and that there is a dearth of students are very jarring. So for most students, it is not an economically sound decision to pursue a professional career in dance. So most of them pursue something like perhaps law or something like engineering, and they dance on the weekend. Now, with regard to your question, I think I must emphasize that Arangetram is never a factor when it comes to choosing dance as a career.
Okay.
To most non-dancers, Arangetram might feel like the end of a dance journey because it is such a grand performance.
Yes.
But traditionally, it's supposed to be the dancer's very first public performance after completing a very basic course that is called a marga. Now, I think this perception of Arangetram being a determining factor comes from the fact that we have all applied Macaulay's archaic principles of education to wherever we see a teacher-student relationship. So nowadays, Arangetram is perhaps looked at as a board exam, and Visharad and Alankar exams of Gandharva and other arts also are called graduation and post-graduation in dance, which is a little problematic, I feel. Coming back to career, I had a similar plan as to those, like a lot of people in my class, which was to study a different degree and keep pursuing dance. I wanted to study social sciences in either Madras or Hyderabad or Pondicherry, and I wanted to learn Bharatanatyam from the masters there. I was very excited about this. However, once we received my LSAT scorecards, my parents decided that I must study law, and try as I may, that was apparently not up for debate. Once I was told to study law, I was taken to the law faculty at Sastra University in Tanjavur, and Tanjavur is the birthplace of Bharatanatyam. So the only reason I went was because I wanted to see the Saraswati Mahal Library and the Brihadeswara temple myself. And these monuments actually have very rich histories in association with Bharatanatyam. So my hope was that if I end up doing something that has nothing to do with my art, at least for 5 years, I'll be dancing in the birthplace of Bharatanatyam. Once I went there, of course, it became evident that there is no culture left in Tanjavur. So I ended up at School of Law at NMIMS in Navi Mumbai.
Okay.
The great thing about NMIMS Navi Mumbai, I feel, is that it's a very new campus. So there's a lot of empty space where I would just enter an empty classroom and start dancing in the first few months. I would have Skype classes with my guru in Pune in these empty classrooms, and that was a great way to compensate for the everyday dreariness that you speak about, which I think sets in not only in a career in law but also in law school. Of course, in Feb 2020, I think I performed in Vai Ani Atthigiri, which was a dance drama that was choreographed for an event at Desika Sabha in Mumbai. And this was at a particularly difficult time for me because at this time, this was my second semester at law school, and I was really feeling very down about how law was not the right fit for me. But dance helped in many ways in that sense. The one great thing about studying a subject like law is that it's very interdisciplinary. So no knowledge that you acquire at any stage in your life would ever go to waste, even if it has to do with art. Because there is a law to govern everything, and you will always find a lacuna here and a loophole there. This is also the reason why a lot of law students, most of us, are pushed into great deal of research work at a very early stage in our undergraduate courses. And as a student of arts and law, BA LLB, I am supposed to write 3 seminar papers this year. My comparative history seminar paper this semester was about the penetration of social issues in classical dance history,
Okay.
which I studied ballet and Bharatanatyam and weighed their histories against intersectional social issues like caste, race, and gender. So this paper was again a very nice way for me to continue my association with dance while studying a course that really has nothing to do with it. At the end of the day, it's always worthwhile to fight for a degree that you would like to do that has something to do with your art. But having been pushed into something that has nothing to do with it, there are always ways to keep yourself associated with art. In my research paper, for instance, during research, I came across this paper called I forget the name, but it had something to do with using Bharatanatyam as physiotherapy for the differently abled.
Right.
Now, this must be a paper in physiotherapy or psychiatry or something like that, but that dancer found a way to break the
Incorporate.
bounds and incorporate art in her studies. I know of music enthusiasts who study sound engineering in order to keep their association with music. And there are so many artists in my class who make their own illustrations for the research papers. So with art, the opportunities are always endless, and it will always be a means for escape for all the artists that are stuck in our art.
Okay. Okay, tell me, is it worth living a career for a lifetime where we are so drained by the end of the day that we would be grateful just because we can barely walk and eat at the end of the day? Or is it financial, or is financial security important?
I don't think there's a point to a career if you have nowhere to walk to or no food to eat. So in this regard, I think dance scholar S. Jayachandran has very interesting ideas taken from scriptures, of course, on dance and career. These come back to me. So the word naukari in Marathi means profession, and the Sanskrit etymology of the word is now plus kar, and now translates to boat. Your occupation is said to be the boat that leads you across the Bhavasagara to fulfill your dharma by providing you artha, which is economic prosperity, which I think answers your question about financial security. And this is how perhaps many dancers view dance and also other professions, including perhaps law. Being drained at the end of the day from your job must be seen as these scholars as a means to cross the Bhavasagara and attain moksha, which is emancipation. You are just doing your duty or your dharma. This spiritual understanding of a job, I think, should really bring meaning to studying and to professing things that we don't really want to do in our lives, whether that be the study of your art or what profession you're pursuing. Is it worth living the kind of career that completely drains you for a lifetime, or would you prefer financial security? I think at age 19, I'm very naive to answer that question. And surely I haven't been through some life altering circumstance where I have to choose between my art and between financial security. However, at this time, I think I do my best to make most of what I have. And career wise, law is not on the table right now, but it still has 3.5 years more to convince me that I should do law. I am more inclined still towards social work in the international arena. I'm inclined towards research, writing, maybe teaching. And again, these have nothing to do with dance. But such career paths, I think, maybe would leave me a little more time in my routine to pursue the art. Mediocrity has always been a great challenge in the arts and in classical dance. And today, people are paying to perform in temples, they're paying to perform in the December Margari festival in Chennai, etc. A career in performing dance or any art for that matter requires immense dedication, rigorous hours of practice every single day, despite the circumstances. And I really don't know if that is feasible with all of us pursuing 9 to 5 jobs. Competitive as my generation may be, we have all taken a major hit in the mental health department. Because when it comes to choosing a career, I don't think a lot of us are doing what we love. Commitment to whatever you're doing, on the other hand, must be extremely important because at the end of the day, after doing arts, if someday I end up for a PhD at Department of South Asia Studies in UPenn, which is known for studying Bharatanatyam, they will certainly question why my professional credentials and educational credentials are not up to the mark, even if I've performed in 100 Margari festival, arenas. In the past few months, it has always infuriated me that professors in arts refuse to recognize that the whole point of studying arts is that different ideas and approaches will be brought to the table. And this creates a very huge issue overall because, once again, we tend to look at education as such in an archaic outlook. The root of this issue, perhaps, is that from pre primary onwards, our students are dancing only for 2 hours a day. And then in secondary school, they take entire weeks off. And by higher secondary, they take an year off for 10th standard and completely lose touch with their art. So, as artists, it is perhaps our responsibility to push students to pursue their arts, to cultivate an environment that can host the pursuit of arts instead of implicitly discouraging students throughout their lives from pursuing their dreams in arts and also the performing arts, the fine arts, and the humanities for that matter.
Well, that was some amazing insight that you shared. Well, Aditi and I have saved you for the last because I believe you, amongst all of us here, have found out a middle path for pursuing your creative passion. We have heard from several people who don't believe it's possible to make a living of your creativity, whether in writing, fine arts, or another medium. But your choice of subject preference debunks this myth. You seem to be living your desire. Tell us, how did you manage it?
Okay. First of all, after listening to all three of the discussion till now, I realize that everything I'm going to say is going to sound so idealistic and so privileged. And I acknowledge that, but I'm not sure if I'm apologetic for that. But yes, I mean, okay, let's start with me quoting very cheerfully Three Idiots, where Rancho says कि success के पीछे मत भागो, excellence के पीछे भागो, success झक मार के पीछे आएगा. And I knew that if I wanted to be excellent, I would have to pursue something that I was passionate about, regardless of whether my passion was art or some sort of science or law or anything for that matter. And uh, for me, I think early on, creative satisfaction and deriving joy from my everyday life was way, way, way more important than something like safety or stability or even money. And I think, especially today, and I can say this very safely after the sort of the sort of activities everybody has been pursuing in something like a global pandemic, that no matter what sort of career that you follow, no matter what sort of life that you live, most people spend most of their recreational time consuming some sort of content. So, as a creator of content, I will always have an opportunity to, quote unquote, make a living and earn money doing what I want to do. Also, again, I am immensely lucky that my parents not only supported me but also encouraged me in doing this. I did not have the responsibility of anyone else's life or
Opinions.
anyone else's finance.
Hmm.
So that way, I'm very privileged, and I realized that being able to pursue, your passion and being able to take that career route is something that not many can do. But yeah, that's how I did it.
Okay, I hope your suggestions help the next set of students who will be seeking career counseling soon. Now, do you plan to find a way to live off your art? Tell us if you think you have limited options in terms of making a career choice after choosing to study the course that you have already enrolled in.
Okay, so answering the first question first, I most definitely plan to make a career of my art. I think there's a general perception that when someone chooses to do their bachelor's in some form of art or something, anything that is offbeat, people think that they're doing it for an intellectual pursuit or recreation or something, and that is not true. The
Listen, Aditi, the thing is, we do not have any female filmmakers even now. If you see the list, when they list out the names on a film fair or say even Oscars, have you seen how many female filmmakers do you see on the list? Is the point. So, if you really pursue your career in this field, so you would be making a point quite huge to the entire world as well.
that is true. I think that's such a huge motivator for most of the girls in my class, most of the audiovisual majors in my class, because you know how you see all these illustrations of young girls looking up at a list of the presidents and they're all men. It is quite similar when it comes to filmmaking, because it's not that women don't have creative expression, and it is not that women don't have stories to tell. They have just as many, if not more. And I think it is a very strong motivator, because a lot of times the creators the directors or even the editors that I look up to as an editing student are women, because there is something about the way they tell stories that resounds with me, because I have been through a similar uh, context in my life. I'm sure that's the wrong terminology, but I think
Experience,
it
you
is.
mean to say something?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. And regarding whether I think I'm limited because of the course that I've chosen, I'd say quite the contrary, because before, when I just finished my 12th grade and I was out in the open world, and all I knew was that I want to create some sort of content, I want to create art. The the kind of art that affects people the way certain works of art had affected me. And because I chose media, and I mean, I chose to study media, and because I got to learn under professors who'd been in the industry that I wanted to be a part of, I got a sense of direction. And I realized that, okay, within content creation, I want to go into audiovisual. And within audiovisual, there's editing or direction that I want to pursue. So, if by limit you mean that I cannot be a doctor or an engineer now, then yeah, I most definitely can't. But I don't know. I don't seem to mind that. I'm good with where I am.
Okay, art contributes greatly to nation's commerce as well. When we speak of films and novels and music labels and dance professionals, symphonies, theaters, museums, we talk about the arts and its commercial value. All right, does anyone have any closing note or suggestions? Would you all like to speak about how artists are often expected to perform for free, or people believe that art shouldn't be marketed?
Uh, if I may take the lead
Yes,
on this,
Abhishek,
and
yes,
I
yes.
have some personal experience around this corner. And I mean, I come from a artistic family. My grandfather was a national award winner. My mom is a British Council product. So on and off these loose requests of, can you paint a portrait of me? It starts with that, and then can you do a wall for me? It has no limits. So that's one of the reasons, of course, my entrepreneurship pursuit. That's one part, which I realized mostly during the lockdown. That's a different story, but that's one of the reasons why I mostly paint portraits of posthumous people. I pay arbitrary because then, for obvious reasons, the subject cannot be the subject that it is. So, what people don't understand when they, ask a request for free is the amount of hard work and the amount of content that goes into building that, no matter what, right? So, I think that is the very root cause of whatever we just discussed over this panel, right? So, there is a definite terms of devaluation of what we do. So there is and that is because number one, the acceptance of this sort of art form as a legit career aspiration
Correct.
is not there. And second, the know-how, the information, because these are something which we develop tastes over, right? So this is something like a delicacy. You can't really have a sushi taste this taste just 5 times. So you need to build a taste on that. And unfortunately, so far in India, due to a number of reasons, we don't have most of the forums which is commonly available to people like or for the masses, I would say. So there are different ways that the artist can dodge this. I have chose my way, and I'm sure
But
some
shouldn't it
people
be
would do that.
incorporated then, Antara? What do you
It
think? In the
should be.
syllabus where you teach, how to market your art form, or how to go about it professionally, or shouldn't that kind of awareness be spread among the people as well in some way or the other?
I think the problem lies when we call it a co-curricular, extracurricular activity.
Exactly.
There,
Right.
there lies the problem. So it's not a curriculum, right? Only academics is the curriculum. Otherwise, even sports, in that matter, co-curricular, extracurricular. So it happens. So unless and until I think we feel maybe the entire education system, the government, they have to induce this thing that art can be the main curriculum of a student who loves it. So we still, कि ये hobby है, ये तो हो जाएगा. So we don't take it. When you say hobby, don't take it seriously. Still, I would say in some families, like in Bengali families, there is a must that you have to learn painting, drawing. So you have to learn something or the other apart from your studies. So I'm thankful for being in that family. But then again, it is a hobby, and so they don't take it seriously like the way they take academics per se. Say bachpan se they believe that is pe career is an option, but they don't take it as a mainstream career, career dream or aspiration. So first they'll think ki chalo maybe our naukri ho jaye, and then you can
Hmm.
pursue art. So art is always on the back foot, not a mainstream thing. So that has to end, and that I think it's somewhere in the educational system that has to change. Because
Yes.
again, like Niharika said that children may practice for 2 hours a day, and then it reduces, when the
Hmm.
what we
Board
say,
exam.
even you know, Lumbini, you and me, the time that we were in, people said that why did you leave dance class and painting class? Because na 10th ka exam aa raha, so we were getting pressure. ठीक है, tuitions were clashing with
More
dance classes or music classes or
See,
whatever.
like if you are bad with your academics, only then you pursue something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
art.
हाँ,
So
so why would we leave art? No, मतलब ठीक है 10 का exams, but you are studying for 10 का exams for the past 1-2 years. I mean, in ICSE the curriculum begins from class 8. So what were you doing? So dance class can go on, music classes can go on, but we still feeling we give importance to academics till
right,
date, I suppose, till date. So that
right.
has to end somehow. That has to end. Yeah.
Abhishek,
I
how long
mean,
does it take you to finish a canvas?
I mean, it depends, of course. So if it is acrylic or sort of a oil paint, let's say a standard size would be 3 feet by 2 feet. It would take me at least 5 days because we need to layer it and sort of
What about a personal portrait?
a personal portrait would, if it's just a charcoal-based A3 size portrait, it would take me a seating of 12 to 14 hours. Yeah, give or
Uh,
take you here and there. Yes.
Aditi, how long does it take you to make one of those videos of yours? Very creative videos of yours.
I would say I need at least a week for the entire process.
And Niharika, how long does it take you to, practice? How many practice sessions before you finally hit the stage before some performance?
The February performance that I did took me about 2.5 hours of up, 1.5 hour each way up down to Vadala and back. So it took us 2.5 hours for a 1 hour, 1.5 hour program to be prepared completely.
For a month.
2.5 months, sorry, for a 1.5 hour program.
And Antara?
Uh, what you're talking about dance?
Anything. I
about
mean,
films.
you can segregate them and tell us the.
So no dance, maybe for a nice performance, 5 to 7 minutes performance, because we do the group that I work with, they work on concepts. So maybe 1.5 months
Right.
minimum to have this rigorous practice
I
sessions
just
every
hope
day.
people.
So it's not only practice sessions; it's also about the choreography and the brain that that thing that goes into. I'm not a choreographer, by the way. I'm a dancer. So, but the choreography needs much, that's hard work. And like you said, that
Yes.
the free thing can come between, because I've recently
Exactly.
experienced one of them. Because I am now also, you can tell me a filmmaker, I don't know, but I do create videos now. Oh, video creator.
Visuals, yes.
Yeah, visual
That was
storytelling.
exactly
So
the point I was trying to make, how much of hard work it goes. Before I post one song, maybe on Facebook or wherever, it takes me at least 10 to 12 recordings. I delete the previous ones. One, something goes wrong here. So, it takes hard work, is what we want our viewers to know before one final performance is being presented in front of you.
So this
So,
video that you saw on Facebook and on YouTube, this
yes, yes.
Agumoni video that had 4 dance forms, 3 days of shoot, entire day shoot, till the light was there, of course, and editing of like 8 hours, because we thoda aaram se, because there were 4 dance forms, and the editor did not know about the dance form, so I had to sit together
Yes.
with him to make him understand, because he didn't even know the difference between Bharatanatyam and Kathak. So I had to tell him. So this video took so much drained, and technology, of course. There were two Mark D cameras, drones. So the entire cost of the production was around 70-80K.
Right.
But then when you show it to your the clients, they would say ये अच्छा क्या है, डांस ही तो है, अच्छा क्या है, so they were talking about 2000 3000. So this happens, अच्छा इस बार दे दीजिए. So they will never, I mean, this is a perennial problem, I suppose. They would never understand the hard work, the creativity that goes into it. I think for this dance, it was very close to my heart. I thought about, like, overnight. I thought about the entire night. I kept thinking about kaise kare, because they were putting 4 dance forms together is not an easy task, and with one or two music. So, but then people don't respect art in any form. I think the day they value it, they will pay for it. So it's as simple as that.
Any closing comments from any of you?
Yeah, maybe just a food for thought is there are 8.5 lakhs engineers coming out every year. They are paid on hourly basis for a piece of code that they write, which needs creativity, of course. Uh, Companies like Fab India, the owners are Australian, but they bank upon Indian artisans, which are coming from very rural India. So I think the potential is humongous, but it somewhere needs to be consolidated and appreciated. So maybe people like us can come up with, our own forums wherever we do, whatever we do. and try to bring it up and market, because I think we have the edge to market it now the way that we never had it before, right? So probably, yeah, I think I would leave on that note, keeping people high on spirits. So yeah, hopefully we all can do better and at least look up for the next generation.
I also think that now, as you said, Lumbini, that the finance curriculum or the dance curriculum or everything, that they must add one topic about how to market yourself.
Right,
That's a,
right.
that's a
Exactly,
skill that you need to learn over the
precisely.
time. Otherwise, you make a product, even in normal business, you make a product and don't sell it. There's no use of it. So everything, skill, services, products, you need to market and you need to sell. That's the end of it, I think.
Um, may I?
Yes, Aditi. Yes, yes, yes.
Um, Another thing for all the younger artists watching, if circumstances allow you, please have the confidence in yourself to pursue, because a lot, when everybody is telling you acha, do whatever you want, it's a great deal of responsibility on your head, because now you need to prove yourself. But please have confidence in yourself that you can, because we need more artists if we want to make art as a career option mainstream. A lot more of us have to come forward. So yeah, just go for it.
I think also from the policy point of view, this new education plan that has come up is could be a ray of hope for artists, because it does its bit to promote art in the educational forum. So I think it's something to look forward to. It can be used in a positive way if it goes through according to plan. So I think that's a ray of hope.
Okay, so we understand, as explained by our panelists, that the benefits of art are enormous, and the failure of society to validate persons venturing into the arts and other creative works is saddening and only reveals the recurring ignorance that has crippled many societies. So let's be more open and more welcoming towards accepting art forms in near future. With this, we have come to the end of today's discussion. Thank you for staying with us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I thank all the panelists for their views and suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.